Hello, CityCo members. This is Xinyu Li at Glastonbury High School. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving holiday. Today, I want to share you a tip about a social emotional learning activity that I do with my students at the beginning of the class. This year, our district slogan is Be Kind, Be Curious, and Be Well. So this activity is about the Be Well. I also want to do this activity is because I want students to know that their social emotional wellness is very, very important to their learning. I find a lot of vocabulary that describes emotions. They're very expressive and very funny and interesting to look at and learn from. I don't teach them all those vocabulary all at once. So each week I choose a couple emotion vocabulary to introduce to them. So they also going to learn those emotion words with me as part of their new vocabulary. For each different level I teach, I will have certain requirements that they need to use when they share their emotions with me and with their peers. For example, this slide you can see is for my Chinese 2. So you can see the sentence pattern is fairly easy and the length is fairly short. And then this is for my Chinese 3. So it's getting longer and the pattern is getting a little bit more complicated than Chinese 2. And then for Chinese AP, I require them to describe about their emotions as detailed as possible. For the next 4 slides, I'm going to introduce you 4 different activities I do under this topic. So this one you see is a interview activity that I do. So when I do this activity, I will print it out and let the students to have it in hand. So they will interview 3 students in class and they will ask them how do they feel on that day and why do they feel that way. And then they will record their answers on this worksheet. And then after I ask them to go back to their seat, I will pick some students to share their interview results. This worksheet is for students to do an interpretive listening activity. So what I do is that I will have 2 volunteer students to do a presentational speaking to share how they feel on that day and why they felt that on that day. And then the rest of the students will have this worksheet in hand. So first they will record about their answers when they share about how they feel on that day and why. And then for this column, they have to write down a suggestion to the speakers. For example, if the speakers shared that I don't feel good today. I feel very stressed because I did not do well on my history test. Then the students can write down a suggestion, for example, that you may want to talk to your history teacher prior to the test in the future so that you can do some extra study with the teacher and you can do better on your next test. Of course, they will do all of those writing and speaking and listening all in target language. This worksheet is for them to do a presentational writing activity. So they will have this in hand and they will just write down how do they feel on that day and why they felt that way. So of course, when the level is higher, you want your students to do more. So for example, for my AP Chinese class, I cannot just accept an answer to say that I feel stressed today because I did not do well on my history test. I have to require them to write down why and suggestions for themselves how to do better in the future. So for this activity is a very easy turn to your desk mate and talk activity. Usually when I do this activity, I give them a focus question. So for example, those 2 questions I typed here is when do you feel sad? And when you feel sad, what do you do to make yourself feel better? So what the students need to do is just literally turn to their desk mate and share about their thoughts on those 2 questions. And then I will let the desk mate to share the student's answer to encourage them be a good listener and also can produce an answer out. For them, they like to do this activity because they also can learn from their peers. For example, next time when they feel sad, they can actually use some of the ways that their peers shared in class to make themselves feel better quicker. So these are the social emotional learning activity I do with my students every time I see them at the beginning of the period. Each of the activities should only take about 5 to 6 minutes. so it shouldn't take too much of your class time. You can also use it as a warm-up activity. So you want to rotate those activities each time because you don't want them to feel bored, and also you want to practice some different language skills as well when you do this type of activities. And also, I feel it's a good way to start your class with them because by doing this, they will know that you and the peers actually care about how they feel. It's a good time for them to unload their stress before they actually enter the world language learning. So this is my tip, and I hope you find it useful. But if you have any questions, please contact me at lix@glastonburyus.org. Thank you. Bye-bye.